everybody. The Blerdlines, it's your man Cam. With me, as always, is
the other Cam Squared,
as well as
Big Josh. What's going on?
Anna. Always at the end, keeping us honest.
Professor, what's up, everybody?
And today we're going to do something a little different. We are going to talk about shows that went too long. We all know these shows. You already got them in your head. You probably think of 5 off the top. But everyone kind of brought one, maybe another one, just honorable mention. But the whole caveat is basically like, yeah, these are the shows that they all continue. They started at, season 1, and then they probably went on to however many seasons later, but they probably could have stopped at a certain time point. And so everyone kind of has their one. Tell us in the comments what you guys think is yours. We all have a couple honorable mentions, but we'll start with one first, see where that goes. It goes from there. So I'm going to start first. I'm going to use my pick is from the Berlanti-verse, and it is my favorite villain of all time, Flash. And the reason why I say this is Flash season 1 was actually really good, like well written, well casted, acted. Was way better than I thought it was going to be. I did not expect it to be anything. I thought it was going to be nice and fluffy and just whatever, but it was actually like good, like comic book, television. And it wasn't trying to do anything. It wasn't trying to be dark and grim like a Batman or a fake Batman Arrow. It just was like a really more, hey, this is her fun, happy kind of a character. And if they would have just kind of stayed in that lane, I think they would have had something. But after like season 1, that's when things started to spiral, and they got writers from Arrow, and all of a sudden now things are a little bit more darker. And literally every villain for the next season on was #Barry's fault. It was always something that he did that came back to bite him in the ass. Like every single season.
Isn't it like 5 seasons of speedsters villains or something exactly. Like that? Like every speedster villain in DC.
Exactly. And like freaking Flash has as much, doesn't have as many villains as Batman does, but he has his own rogue gallery, and they just would constantly just make up a new speedster just because we need more Flashes, I guess. But yeah, well, and for me,
to be fair, when they hit the Professor Zoom arc, I feel like that was a good foil to all the happy-go-lucky. Like there was consequence, and there was, they set up consequence. They set up stakes. Like you felt like there was danger, and you didn't know how Barry was going to get out of what was being set up. And so, to your point, they get to the climax of the Zoom arc, and after breaking Barry's back, after literally, and I mean literally, dragging that man's face through the street. Like I remember the shot where he's beating the crap out of Barry, and he grabs him and he drags him face first into the pavement on the way to the main police station in the city and basically took him to City Hall, right? And he holds him up by his neck, and he's like, "Yo, is this your hero on some Killmonger?" And like I was into it. I was heavy into it. And then what did they do to resolve the arc? We're going to resolve this by having a race. I was like, what is the whole motivation? What?
Zoom's motivation in that whole thing and all the stuff you just described, that all happened in the first episode. And then we got 21 episodes or 23 episodes of who knows what culminating with that whole, I just want to race you so that we can see who's the fastest. So they established some stakes. And then the other thing is that Barry was healed in the next episode. I mean, obviously his fast, super speedy metabolism would do that. But, and he was traumatized. So you had that going, but it just falls apart.
It was like 20 episodes it was 20 episodes of I'm sad and I gotta race a dude that I can't beat. And it was just like, what are we doing? But anyways, that's mine. I was like, before we go longer on that one, but yeah.
You drag my face through the street. We not resolving this with no race. We fighting.
Look, back in my day, when two people raced in the neighborhood, we became friends after. So I don't know what Flash was doing.
Well, again, Zoom.
If someone came to me and said, "Hey, you want to race?" We became best friends. That's how I made friends. We
but if they dragged your face through the street before that, it would be on site. You would have a fight after we raced. Win or lose, I might fight you.
Hey man, getting smoked, getting dragged in the face, same thing.
Well, shout out to Tony Todd because he voiced Professor Zoom in that. Yes. Well, he was just called Zoom in that season, and that was what was great about the whole him coming in, beating up Barry, and doing all that. But I think I checked out of that show around a little bit after the season where his daughter from the future was on there, and I think the villain may have been.
Yeah, that was maybe like three or four or something. But by that time, the plot's been.
Was that the Savitar season?
Nah, that was Savitar was like season 3. Savitar was like the season after Zoom, I think. Like that's why I said it got exhausting because you would have the first. He obviously season 1 he was dealing with Reverse Flash, which is often confusing because in the comic books there is a Reverse Flash who goes by Professor Zoom, and so like it's the yellow and red one, and so they broke it up and made them 2 separate characters. But I think after season 5 is when his daughter came along, but. It's so funny because I often forget that Katie Sachoff passed through that show too, as Amunet or something like that. I forgot.
Yeah, she was like a random.
name.
I mean, there was a lot of cameos through a lot of that show. Yeah, there was a lot of metahumans that came through, and it was like, again, it was just one of those shows that like there was potential there, and I think they were getting high on their own supply because Arrow had just became a hit. So they're like, cool, by second season, let's greenlight, Flash drops. The first season does well again. Then they do the next spinoff. I think it was Legends of Tomorrow. So the Berlanti was just on his own tip at that point.
Supergirl.
Yeah,
Supergirl was also looped into that. And
so they were all kind of getting that thing, but it was just one of those things where, like, if you go back and rewatch Flash first season, it's actually an enjoyable watch. It's actually super fun, breezy superhero stuff. And it was like, if they would have kept that tone and kind of just had better writing or just stopped it at like season 2 or 3, it would have been fine. But you gotta, the machine got to keep it moving. So, but that's mine. I don't want to take too much time with that. D, what's your one show that should have been, that stayed around too long?
Well, this one hurts because I actually still love the show, but it's definitely Supernatural. I mean, I love Supernatural. You guys know how much of a fan I am of the story. I still like watching some of those seasons that I admit where you can even going back and watching it now, I'm like, this should have not happened. This should have been over, gone, done. We're talking 10 years. Done. But for those of you who don't know or may not know, Supernatural was a TV series on the CW that debuted in 2005. I was a junior in high school when it started. I was deep in my career as an adult when it ended. And so that gives you a little perspective. It's on that same spectrum as the Grey's Anatomy and the Law and Orders that have like 300 something episodes total. Like you could probably do Supernatural and syndication is gonna get Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki and Eric Kripke and all those folks. If syndication is what it used to be, it's gonna get them, money in perpetuity. But Supernatural was originally supposed to end at the 5th season. And it told a definitive story. It had a really good 5-year arc. Some of my favorite stories, as you all know, are the ones that are planned, the ones that have a beginning, middle, and end when you go into it, not figuring it out as you go along. And so for Supernatural, that's what it became. It started off as a definitive story with a really good mythology, and also the meta fiction that it employed was always really, really good. Really, really good. Even though it's one of the episodes that came during the overstayed welcome, they had an episode where the Sam and Dean meet the Scooby Gang, and they're inside. They become Scooby-Doo characters, and the whole time Dean is trying to, of course, have sex with Daphne. And so it's funny in that metafiction way as it blends these two pop culture. Supernatural did become a pop culture iconic culty series because it's popular, but at the same time, there is a good amount of people who never heard of it, and I think that's kind of its legacy, is that it did stand out and endure for so long. 15 seasons. I mean, come on. Like, to the point where there's not a supernatural entity that Sam and Dean, that we know of, that Sam and Dean never fought. Maybe they didn't fight Cthulhu, but they fought something close to it. And H.P. Lovecraft actually appears on the show. He gets killed, which is great. I love that. But he was on it. And again, I don't hate Supernatural or even criticize it for going on that long, but it did overstay its welcome. Like, there was no doubt that CW could have let that show go 10 years, if not five, if not 10 years before it ended. But it does have a few gems even during that run. Like I said, the Scooby-Doo episode, there was an episode where an angel sends Sam and Dean into an alternate reality, and literally they crash through a window and they are on the set of Supernatural as Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki. And they encounter Misha Collins, who plays Castiel, and Eric Kripke, who is the creator. He gets killed by one of the characters he creates. It's great. And obviously, one last thing I'll say is that they fought everybody, including God. And God is, in this story, a writer, an author, who basically just writes all these books, creates these worlds, and is like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Do what you want to do, and don't get mad at me because your life sucks. And that was it. But yeah, good legacy, but way too long for someone who likes definitive stories and practical. It stretched my it really did stretch my patience.
Yeah, the fact that it went on longer than like Smallville and like a lot of the other shows that when it first all came on at the same time,
went
like,
longer than Buffy.
Buffy, Angel, like all the shows, it still passed while it started around the same time. Wild. Like I was surprised. It's one of those things where like that shit's still on. Kind of like how I look at The Walking Dead, but I'm not gonna go into that.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll just say one last thing that it did. This, Cam, it had a lot of X-Files influence in Supernatural, and it paid a lot of homages to the X-Files and a lot of network TV shows. And I think that was one of the great things about the metafiction, is that it took a lot of those things from the various decades of pop culture and TV, and both made fun of them while making fun of itself, but also while celebrating those things. So even again, when it's like, yeah, we in season 13 and they didn't fought the darkness guy's sister and all this stuff, and like, it's ridiculous now, but you appreciate that it never took itself 100% serious.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, wait, go ahead.
Yeah.
You said there was connections to X-Files. Was there anybody work on both shows? What was the connection? Or did you just paying an homage to it just in general?
Oh, definitely some of the actors. Mitch, I think it's Mitch Pagelli. I can't.
Yeah, I know you. That's the guy that was the bald-headed guy who was the leader of the FBI for Scully and Mulder.
Yes. So he appears in. Yes. Thank you, Josh. He appears in Supernatural as Samuel Campbell, who is their grandfather.
Okay.
And who is a hunter. And so there's that connection, but there's also just the structure, the monster of the week, that them dealing with preternatural things that most people don't believe in. And it's sort of this secret world, kind of the same way with X-Files, the FBI agents were dealing with the the paranormal, and everyday people didn't know about it and stuff like that. So just those connections. But yeah, some actors, but that's the biggest one. He plays their grandfather.
Oh, it's Mitch Pileggi.
Mitch Pileggi. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Nice. All right, Cam, what's your gone on too long show?
So many, but I'm gonna start with the honorable mentions first, and I'm just gonna give a short synopsis. Game of Thrones, which could be argued didn't stay long enough or stay too long. We had an offline discussion about that, but after season 5, I felt like the writers were freestyling and remixing the last season, and the characters and plot lines we started with were not what we ended with. I have Grey's Anatomy. I personally left the show when Isaiah Washington left the show. It is my cheesy show, but how many damn incidents at a hospital you gonna have for 20 damn seasons and ongoing? Scandal. Cam, I blame you for this. My biggest pet peeve is that you have this main character, Olivia Pope, played by Kerry Washington, who's a smart, intelligent character who runs a crisis management firm in Washington, D.C. She specializes in fixing scandals for the powerful clients, all the while including this in a tense affair with a president. This is the epitome of smart, dumb people, because I could not. Anyway, I mean, come on, she's so smart, but she can't quit this cat, and it just reached. I mean, whatever. Okay, so with that out of the way, my main show.
So wait, before you proceed, hold on. What was the dividing line for you with Scandal? I gotta know. Like, where was it? Where did it hit where you were like, all right, man, come on.
After her father chewed her out and gave her common sense and logic, she still went back on that and just defied dumbness. I'm like, all right, wisdom is chasing you, but she is faster. That's all I'm gonna say on that. So
to be fair, that's also the byproduct of the mold that those shows are made, because they have to be super melodramatic for that very reason. Also, you get that cut from the advertiser, all that stuff.
and the fact they were getting rid of characters. They got rid of, what's his name? Columbus Short? Is that his name?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, well, he had some trouble.
Scandal.
Look, all I'm gonna say is there's a common theme with Shonda Rhimes and certain black characters that just get put off. I don't know. I get it. Whatever, right is right, wrong is wrong. But when they get rid of my favorite characters, I'm over it. So anyway, I digress. And shout out to Shonda Rhimes. I ain't got no beef with her. It's just I can only take so many seasons of her shows. My show of choice is Prison Break, which was a drama about a guy getting wrongly convicted, and one of the brothers comes in, and I think the premise is Prison Break. How are you going to break out of prison? And then what happens at the end? You break out of prison. The show should be over, but it didn't end. Which is and to be fair, Fox in 2003 said the same thing. They were concerned with the long-term prospects of this show.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Did they break out of prison after the first season, or was this like the third season they break out and then after the second season? Okay, yeah, then the show is over.
The show should be over, right? And the general opinion about Prison Break's later seasons is mixed. Some fans feel like the show lost its momentum and a charm after like the first 4 seasons. Others enjoyed the continuity of the story. I only liked the first 2 seasons for obvious reasons, but the later ones just didn't have that magic. The cracks started showing around season 3 in terms of character development. In the first season, everyone had a deep character motivations. Then we get characters like Wyatt, Jacob, Roland, Letchero, and they just seem to insert character tropes instead of feeling like actual damn people. It was kind of just disappointing. One of the favorite things about the show is how it tried to humanize all of the characters, not just justifying any cruelty they inflicted on others, but humanizing them. They lose that in the later season, and it really annoyed the shit out of me and how they ended the show with character T-Bag killing at the very least, brutalizing Jacob, and it felt like the show had lost its heart and became hollow. I know there is a section of people who felt like sad about Billick's death, but the way they made all the characters have flashback about him was like ridiculous. And I just felt the show started doing generic BS to appeal to people. And they introduced a character named Sid just to kill him off. And with that, and the same with T-Bag's son, none of it felt genuine or earned. Perhaps maybe I'm looking at the first 2 seasons rose-colored glasses, but I just think the characters went back to jail and prison themselves multiple times, and it's asinine to me. No man should go back to prison for whatever reason. If you, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. So,
well, again, there you go, because they realize, like, why I don't like stories that aren't planned. They realize that, it's called Prison Break, but these guys are like walking around. We're not in prison anymore. Let me ask you. I think I remember seeing a lot of comparisons at least for the first season to Oz, in terms of the look of the. I know that it's kind of it has to be hyperbole because nothing on Fox looks like anything on HBO. Let's just
surface level. What is it? The term I'm looking for, but basically, if you want to reach for that, sure.
I could be imagining it, but I thought I remember some advertisements, some promos that kind of compared it to Oz, or there was like a producer or something. Maybe, I don't know.
There are elements that are kind of reminiscent to Oz, but Oz is his own different beast. Oz,
Oz is
we all know what Oz is.
Yeah, I was about to say Oz is in the if there is a category for literary TV, Oz would be into that in that category, along with The Wire and some of HBO's golden era stuff.
Whoever's saying that is probably the same analogy as saying Power is like The Wire. There's elements.
Fair enough. Yeah. So,
yeah. But you're right, because Prison Break was one of those ones where I think when it came out, there was like a bunch of TV shows that all came out around the same time where the premise sounded like a movie. And so I was like, I just hearing from the premise, I'm like, you got 1 to 2 seasons to resolve this, and then what are you doing after? And then when Prison Break kept going, I was kind of like, this is kind of weird. And then
they had a couple. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that was when Fox first started doing their ordering in full seasons. So like before they would do the pilot season, and then you just shoot the pilot, and then they would decide whether or not they pick it up based on the performance, right? But this is when Fox. This is right out of the 2008, or right around that time, the strike, right? Because I remember that affected Supernatural as well. But mainly, I was just bringing that up because that was definitely around the time where I feel like they would have had like the 12 episode season order, and probably didn't think about whether or not it would go on beyond that. Because you're right. When I first heard it, I was like, this sounds more like I thought it was a TV movie. Like that was right when the limited series really ended, and they started doing like every show that should be a limited series, meaning a TV movie for 8 episodes or 10.
Put it like this:
multiple seasons.
It started in August 29th, 2005, and the momentum.
Okay, so that was before then.
Yeah, it carried momentum till 2008 or 2009. But like there was 22 episodes, season 1 and season 2. Season 3 had 13. Season 4 had 22. Then there was a break. There was the final break, which was the movie, May 27, 2009. And then they came back in April of 2017 to do a season 5, a 9 episode. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? So anyway, that is my choice for one of the shows that overstayed their welcome. There are plenty to choose from. I gave my honorable mentions that stuck out on my head, but Prison Break was the one that stuck out the most. And I had notes on this one. So.
Very good.
All right. And Josh, what's your show that I know there's a lot. I know you have a lot, but give us the one that out of your group that speaks to you to the most, that still pains you to this day.
So I think I'll piggyback on Cam's on how Cam did his and go with my honorable mentions first. Because when we first started talking about doing this, I was for sure on some, this is going to be like a 3-hour show then. Because,
Oh, you about to name everything on network TV for the last 10 years, man.
Everything on UPN.
Hey, he's going to say Homeboys in Outer Space overstayed his welcome.
You got to go all of Chuck Lorre, Roseanne.
I went down to, because Flex did an interview talking about Homeboys in Outer Space and how much hate he got from the Black community. And I found it on YouTube, the pilot.
Wasn't it him and the guy from A Different World in that show?
Yep.
Mhm.
It is so bad. It's good. It's as bad as I remember, but it's just even that much better. I might have to go. I might have to do something on it because it's just, it's so horrible, but so good. Anyway,
amazingly, that did not make my list. So let's see. All right, honorable mentions. I got The Simpsons. I got 2.5 Men. I got Suits, which was a personal favorite of mine.
Watch that.
Killing Eve. Suits is fun. Suits is fun until you kind of like, all right, like, can we resolve this now? Killing Eve, Archer, another personal favorite of mine that just, it's funny because I was in and out with Archer after what I felt like was it overstaying its welcome. And then I peek in on it every now and again and it still be hilarious. So that one might be a little dubious.
Comedies are hard in judging in that category because they're not telling a complete story to begin with in most cases.
The Office, another example of what you just said. Family Matters, on the other hand, Family Matters stayed way, way, way too long.
Trash. It doesn't crack the top 10 of all-time Black TV sitcoms.
No, it does not. Because of how it overstayed. I agree.
Hey, well, let me say this before you go on.
Yep.
On Family Matters specifically, I never knew they switched the mom out on the last 9 episodes. Didn't even know that. I never even got that far.
I knew that, but you could have never known that.
I would have never known that.
I think there's a whole generation of people that don't know that. Yeah, I think there's a whole generation that just
because people stopped watching once Urkel was not Urkel anymore.
Well, at that point, him and Laura were together. They were adults. That last episode is the dumbest thing I've ever seen from a sitcom, where they send him to space because he's the only person that could fix whatever it is up there that they got to do. And of course, Laura and all of them are worried, and it ends on a cliffhanger with him being possibly stuck floating in space. But that was the last couple seasons of Family Matters. Like that was the last several seasons of Family. It was just a complete minstrel show.
One more thing before I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but when Judy Winslow went upstairs and never came back down. I know why, but the show never explained
why. You know why. Yeah, you know why. Upstairs and never came back down, but we won't talk about that.
We'll talk about that. But anyway.
Little Richie went from like a baby to like 12 and like in the season.
Oh man!
I mean, how many people was in that house though, man? Like that house seemed like it was like
that was an apartment building,
Chicago house, and it's like holding like everybody comfortably, the whole family
and their friends who would randomly just be there all the time.
And the house gets destroyed like every episode by Urkel, so it's just anyway, Josh.
So Shameless, another. I guess you could call it sitcom. Shameless was amazing when it first started out, and it just like you can only drag the white trash trope, but so far, like after
I have
a while,
to say something about Shameless.
Go.
Once you're finished, because I just
good. I'm
okay. You're definitely right about Shameless being on there because I know that's counterintuitive to what I said earlier about comedies. Mm-hmm. However, Shameless did not start off as a straightforward comedy. It started off as a comedy drama where they were dealing with very serious, consequential things. Some of that stuff was funny, but some of it was also equally tragic. What was happening to those characters. So then you get to season 7, 8, and 9, and like, obviously, when you to that point, it's not, you've gone past beyond the pale. But once Emmy Rossum leaves, that show just did a whole 180 and nothing mattered. And now it was just like straight comedy. Even like you went from having the brother Ian being bipolar and that being a problem and him going to jail and leading the cult, all that silly stuff, to like none of that even matter. Now he's just bipolar. He's just like it don't even matter anymore. But anyway, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt it that much, but Shameless, definitely, you're right.
You summarized it better than I would have. Yeah, definitely. Like by the time, the fact that for me, it topped out way before season 8, 7 and 8. Like it just
100%. Fifth season is where it should have stopped.
Yes.
Once what's her name? Joan Cusack. Once Joan Cusack was off that show, it was over for me. Like I was like, okay, she was the funniest thing on the show, and like when it was just about the neighborhood, that little block of houses and those people, then it was very interesting. When it started to be about the whole of South Chicago and like all these
all their ancillary and all the ancillary people to the subplot players and guest stars and recurring characters. By that point, you were just like, I don't care about any of these people.
Yeah,
which was the thing of the show. Like, even though they sometimes were their own worst enemy, you still cared about the characters. That was for me. That was the thing about Shameless.
The one thing I'll say though, is the finale. There is something very funny that happens in the series finale, and my sister told me about it, and I did laugh. And that's they do the credits. So Frank dies. Gallagher dies.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been dead like after in second episode of season 1.
After his first overdose.
Right, but I mean, the man was on borrowed time. Like he stole some time anyway. But he's dead, and so they do the credits, and then they cut to a mid-credit where they're loading his body into the furnace for cremation, and once his body gets in, the whole thing explodes because he's got that much alcohol. He's got that much alcohol in his body that it just blows the entire crematorium up. And I thought that was okay. If this had happened 8 seasons ago and ended the show, it would have been really, really funny. I mean, it would have probably been
amazing.
Iconic.
That's pretty amazing.
But because it happened at the end of BS, nobody talking about it. Nobody cared anymore. It just whatever. It's funny because you know the character, but nobody cares.
So rounding out the list, Smallville absolutely stayed way too long. Once we get to the point where there's a red-blue blur, I was just like, all right, man. Like, come on. And the last one is completely off-the-wall, random. Oh, no, I got 2 more. Sorry. The next one is completely random. It's The Amazing World of Gumball on Cartoon Network. That was a show that I watched with my daughter. It is absolutely hilarious until it's not anymore. And somewhere around season 4 is where it just completely careens off the rails. A Japanese anime, Psycho-Pass. After season 1, that should have stopped. It was perfect. It ended perfectly. Then season 2 happened, and but to my main, this is something that will pain both myself and Cam. It is The Blacklist. The Blacklist hurt in a way. Look, I stopped the man from sinking a sip out of his mug.
Damn it, man. Trying to have a happy day. Yet
another network show.
But The Blacklist, listen, The Blacklist, when it was good, was amazing. It was probably the best show on TV for the time. So The Blacklist, for those who aren't familiar, starred James Spader as Raymond Red Reddington, who is a formal naval intelligence officer who eventually turns coat and sells secrets and becomes the highest profile seller of secrets in the world. Randomly, out of the blue, he surrenders himself. And when he surrenders at FBI headquarters, he only is willing to talk to a rookie profiler by the name of Elizabeth Keene. Easily one of the most annoying female characters in all of television. And not because she's a woman, just she's annoying. And I feel like...
Who played her?
Megan Boone.
Right.
Yes.
And
very Silence of the Lambs-ish setup.
Very, very. Which is what I thought they were trying to position it as. But when you watch the show, it's really just Reddington being a very charismatic man with secrets who sort of, you can tell that he's from the outset that he's playing the FBI by willing to turn himself in, and literally has his blacklist of people who are basically among the world's most wanted criminals, whether they be other people who sell secrets, arms dealers, drug dealers, mobsters. The list is literally endless, which was part of the problem.
and can we also, I had an all right man moment with that when Raymond Reddington identity was revealed, and I was like, all right, man, here we go.
Wait, which time?
When he was revealed to be Katrina, the mother of Elizabeth King.
Right.
Spoiler alert. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, you lost me.
Yeah, we got a good friend, shout out to Howard, where we I don't want now foolishly got him into the show. And he was watching, he was like, yo, this is really dope. And it was like all positive. And there's a certain moment where he was like, what do you guys have me watching? I'm like, and he got to the point where he's like, I have to finish because I've come this far. And he was better than me because I didn't even finish the last season because I couldn't do it because I was just like, and then he was like, well, spoilers, they kill off Elizabeth Keen. And I was like, all right, I'll come back for that. But even that, I was just like, it's just,
how many seasons? How many seasons did it do?
9, I think.
Eight.
Okay.
And how many episodes?
22 to 24 a season?
No. It was 10 seasons, 218 episodes.
10 seasons? What?
Yeah.
10 seasons. They killed her off in the last in season 8, and so then they had 2 seasons without her. But by that time, I mean, again, it was one of those shows that.
Wait,
I'm telling you,
stop. They killed her off. What's the point of watching? Because the whole point was trying to figure out who she was connected. You know what?
Yep.
Cam, I blame. And look. Anybody listening, real quick. Anybody listening? When Cam recommends a show and he stops watching, you've been set up. He did that with me in Scandal. He got Howard with The Blacklist. Sometimes you got to tread carefully with Cam. Cam recommends a show, man, because they all become the cheesy ones. These shows that we recommended are cheesy TV, guilty pleasures. Yes. Like, again, I don't want to say I'm highbrow, but some of these shows I just like because it captures me and I'm in for a season or 2. But then it just jumps off the rails or jumps the shark, and I'm like, all right, man.
And to be fair, like, I'm not a Shonda Rhimes fan. Scandal was the first time I actually watched like more than 3 episodes, and I was like, yo, this is cheesy fun. They're like hitting all the right notes. It's well casted. It was like salacious enough that you're like interested, and I was like, okay, this is pretty dope. But then when it jumps the shark, you're like, what?
So I was over at my boy's house chilling with him and his wife, and it's getting to the time. It was Wednesday night. Time coming around for Scandal, and so he turns to me at about 7:45 or 9 or whatever time it came on, and he's like, all right, man, look, me and my wife about to watch Scandal. Do you watch? I was like, nah. All right, cool. So, yo, look, I don't know another way to say this, but you can't ask no questions. If you're gonna stay, you can stay. We're not throwing you out. You can totally stay, but you can't ask no questions. And if you stay and watch, you're gonna have questions. So either you save it until, and I'm not one to, everybody knows me. I'm not one to spoil. I'm not one to interrupt in the middle of something that I don't know what's going on. I'm not one of those people who talks through a show or a movie or whatever. He knows this, and he's still giving me the talk in front of his wife so that she knows that I know that I'm not going to do these things, I guess. So I sit down and I watch this thing, and they're both watching me to see reactions now. And so I'm sitting there just like, for real? I had no idea what was happening. And I'm still like, whoa. Okay. So at the end, they catch me up on all the stuff that's going on. I go home to my lady and I'm like, babe, we got a new show to watch. I don't know another way to. And she was like, this looks dumb. Like, she was very into highbrow television, same way. And she was like, this sounds silly. Like, why would you want me to watch this? I was like, I don't think we really have a choice. You have to, like, you're gonna have to take this one for the team. I start her watching it, and she's now egging me on, like, yo, like, it's Wednesday, like, we need to catch up before the new season started. Like, we blew through the first, I think, 2 seasons, I think it was, and became addicts. It was one of those shows. So, you know, in Cam's defense, Cam, as far as Blacklist is concerned, me, Cam, and Howard were all watching it at the same time. So it was kind of like our show, for lack of a better term. So it was one of those things where, like, I can defend Cam to a certain point dropping out on the show, because he and I both dropped out at the exact same time. And Howard was catching up because he hadn't started watching it early. So we both dropped out, and I didn't say nothing to Cam. Cam didn't say nothing to me, but we both saw the same. We both saw the same spot where we were like,
well, wait a second. Did Howard start watching before this happened, or you guys dropped out and then recommended it to him?
No. He started late, but we were all still watching. So he was catching up. Yeah.
I think Netflix had it. I think Netflix had the first 6 seasons.
Hey, well, this is what I learned. You guys are not very good friends of Howard to let him continue watching it. That's all I take from this.
We didn't know. We didn't know.
No. I'm saying after the fact.
That reminds me of the time when I was in Barcelona having espresso. A beautiful young lady was talking to me, and Red had the best, like, off the collar stories out of nowhere, just non sequiturs that would come into the thing. But yeah, it's just, man, Blacklist is one of those ones. And then what's crazy is, like, the monster of the week aspect of it, you thought would have gotten tired in that first season, but they did a good job of, one, making the monster of the week, or these villains, assassins, dictators, whatever, interesting, some type of a hook or a plug. Plus, you're in the beginning, you're really wondering, like, how does Red connect to all this? B, how does she connect to it? And then you start to find out all these secrets, like her husband's not really her husband. He's like a whole nother thing. You're like, yo, Tom is the man. So all these things start coming. And then
Tom was one of the best things about that show.
It sounds like the perfect result of a writer's room that had stacks of coke in it, and they just went crazy the whole way through. That's how most of those network shows are.
It was actually pretty tight. It was actually pretty tight the first 2 or 3 seasons.
I was going to say this. And I'll say the same thing.
I refute the cocaine, actually.
So I'll say the same thing. Kind of like what D said. Like, you can tell shows have a definitive beginning, middle, and end, and then it just jumps the shark. And I think, like, that was one of those ones where I would say, like, their first 3 seasons were pretty mapped out. Maybe 4 at the solid. And then there's a part where you could tell it jumps the shark, where they're kind of like painted themselves into a corner. But, like, the momentum of season 1, 2, and 3, every part was like, okay, we're all leading towards something, was very intentional. And then when it got to the point of, like, oh, this is a hit, this is a moneymaker, and like most American shows, they just keep dragging it out as long as they can.
Yeah, they don't want it to end. So now you don't have a definitive beginning, middle, and end. You just have
it's the gravy
whatever
train.
It was at the beginning.
Ongoing.
And
building
it's just
building the airplane in the sky. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, and that's how, like How I Met Your Mother is a great example too, right? There was a whole premise behind it. It's pretty solid. Okay, cool. Here's a bunch of friends. Eventually, you're going to meet the mother. 9 seasons later, you're like, oh, where the hell's the mother at? Oh, then she pops up. But then by the end, it doesn't really matter anyways. And so,
almost made my list.
To D's credit. Yeah, but, like, to D's credit, like, a lot of these American shows, they might start with a well-intentioned, like, place to go, but then they don't have anywhere to go after because they don't really think of it that far. And it's crazy because I'm like, there's shows like that where, they only made it to 13 episodes, or once the writer's strike, that's what it was. When the writer's strike happened, a lot of these 22 episode, 24 episode type of seasons stopped. And we just got the 12 to 13 joint. The first
they're still around though. They after that strike, you still because I mean, Supernatural after that had at least 5 or 6 24 episode seasons. In fact, they didn't go back to being less than that until the last season, which when they had 20 episodes as opposed to 24 and 22. So they were still doing that, and that was sort of I guess. Now, to your point, it was more the producer's preference versus, a heavy-handed network mandate that a show had to be 20 something episodes and that's how you get certain network shows that did only have 13 episodes or whatever for the season. Most of these were movie premises that were ham-fisted to TV.
Yeah, Blacklist was like, it was 10 seasons, and they started in 2013, ended 2023, and they did a full 22 episodes pretty much every season, I think, except for one, essentially. But you're right, a lot of the network shows, like, because we're used to that, right? These long ass shows, a lot of filler in between, but some stuff that kept the moving things going. And then Netflix was the one that kind of like, yo, we're funding this out of our own pocket, make that 8, son.
Yeah, because it used to be that weekly TV was an event, right? So like you didn't get it anywhere else, so you had to be. It was an appointment. You had to be there when it was there. So a lot of these arcs didn't have to always come together as fast as they do now, where TV is more frequent. The releases are more frequent than they used to be.
You know what show defied that should have made probably one of our lists? A show that defied this for a little while was the 24 episode Problem was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And they did it right around, if I'm remembering correctly, I forget what season it was, but it was the LMD season where they sort of broke it up.
When they did it.
Yeah. Season 3. Season 3 was when they sort of, all right, we got to do 20, 24, 22 episodes. But they broke it up into 3 tranches successfully. And each one sort of bled into the other very neatly before the show started bugging out and going to space and all this other stuff. But I would say
the space season was fine. It had the same thing because they did the tranche. It was but that felt like an ending in that season, and it should have been an ending. Coulson is dead. He's gone off to die happily, and Daisy and Mac and the remaining Shield agents are taking over now, and because then you wouldn't have had to deal with all of the really silly, weird MCU questions that followed, and that was brutal. But you're right; they did those tranches were a good way of having an overarching theme for that 24 episodes, but then breaking it down into little volumes, right? So you had the LMD, the Ghost Rider that led into the LMD, that led into the Hydra tranche, which was the last thing. And it's sort of all of those culminated because at the end of that one, the main antagonist is the LMD creation, and she had created the Hydra world, and now Ghost Rider is back. Is the only thing that
was a great season.
Her and all that stuff. So they did. You're right. They did a good job of making the good use of that of those 22 episodes.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing now. It's like in American network television now, it's like you could tell. I was trying to think of something else that was like, it still had the 22 episode type of thing and still kind of kept it in a way that made sense for all the arcs, right? They put those arcs into almost like 7 episodes arcs and then kept going for the whole season kind of a thing.
There are not many that kept them together, keeps it together coherently with a central theme like what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did. Supernatural did it, but because their sort of coherent thing is that they introduced after season 5, it was this way. The first 5 seasons had a different structure. There was only really 3 main villains of those 5 seasons. But after that, you had each season they would establish the big bad at the beginning. And so the whole thing would be, how do they figure out how to stop this big bad? But along the way, we're still on the road and we still got monsters to kill. And you know what I mean? So that was how they reconciled it. Where it's like, yeah, we're going to get some episodes where they're just looking up lore, but they're in this town and there's a case or whatever. They can't do anything, so they go work the case. But that's how you make that work you make the production mode and the story structure work in tandem together. But a lot of network shows don't have that setup.
Dude.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason where, especially in that like 2005 to 2013, 14 era, like so many of these shows like had good premises at first, and their first 1 to 3 seasons were pretty solid, kind of like almost like must see TV. And then we got money, so let's just keep let's just keep cranking these episodes. And
but no world Bible. See, these shows don't start with a world Bible that builds the world and make it work like something relatable with rules and with stakes and with characters who fit into these rules, and the choices they're making either is going to challenge the rules of the world or the rules of the world are going to squash them. Right. So we saw that in the Game of Thrones with Ned Stark and the choices he made leading to his beheading. Right. So like that's the kind of storytelling that you had with Breaking Bad, which is why if you go back and rewatch Breaking Bad a few times and you look at those, for example, flashback scenes where with Walt, when he was full scientist, you see that what happened to this dude is he made a really stupid choice and then he couldn't go back on it. And so he suppressed all of that by just marrying into a simple life. But he was always that person. Like one of the, just an example of this and just my point about world building and creating a Bible, because this would have been in the Bible, the scene where it's in season 1, they show him and the woman Gretchen, and they're in their lab and they're going over all of the composition of that makes the human body, and they get it all the way up based on all the elements all the way to 98%, and they can't reconcile that 2%. And then Gretchen says to Walt, well, it must be the soul. And then Walt like turns around and he looks at her, and then he looks back at the board, and then he goes and he gives her a kiss, and he's like, this is just chemistry. That's all that is. So you can see that even then in the world building, this guy was always someone who was not bound by spiritual sensitivities or even spiritual considerations. Like for him, it's very scientific. And you see that in the rest of his story and his art. That's what we don't have in a lot of TV storytelling. I would argue that Breaking Bad is probably the only and Better Call Saul, but those are the only ones that had where the writers knew exactly where they were going from they may not have had all the minute detail, but they knew where they were going to take the character and where the character would ultimately land. And so in the middle of that is where you can get and say, well, if we know we want to put them there, here are some scenarios that we can do to write them into that place. But this is all academic. We're talking about like just watching the stuff, right? Right. So from that end,
and when you say the only ones, you mean Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and shows like them.
Like
I think that there are very few of them out there. There are some that are pretenders that like to, they had the success like that, but you could look at part of their overall storytelling. You could find moments where you could say, okay, that probably wasn't something that was always meant to be. Right. That was probably something that was opportunistic. They just threw it in there, but it wasn't a part of the overarching beginning, middle, and end of this story. Like 6 Feet Under or, The Wire. If you look at how The Wire is structured, The Sopranos, if you look at how that is structured, and both of those shows only had how many seasons? 5 seasons. Breaking Bad, 5 seasons.
Babylon 5.
Supernatural would have ended after 5 seasons because Eric Kripke said he wrote material for a 5-year arc. Like you just said, Babylon 5. JMS wrote a series for 5 years and knew where he was going each year of that arc. And that's why those shows, they always stand out. That's why, as much as we love Star Trek and Star Wars, I agree with the Expanse writers. It's like the better stories are the ones that have a definitive beginning, middle, and end, because it's that story. It's the epic. It is the Odyssey. It is the Iliad. It is those stories that, if you're going on and on a perpetual loop of good versus evil or scientific exploration, then you can tell a bunch of different kinds of stories. But those will get lost in the sauce of the memory bank versus the ones like, again, The Expanse that has a beginning, middle, and end, and it makes it epic. Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, all Breaking Bad, Mad Men, all of those kinds of shows.
Yeah. And also a lot of that, like you said, goes back to that intention, right? If you have a story Bible, you know where you're heading. So it doesn't matter how, like, if anything, if you get canceled, you get caught up in your story. You're not finishing anything, or you have at least a direction that you're kind of going towards, where other ones will come in and they'll end in this abruptly, but it's because that they were done telling their story. And I think that
they didn't know where they were going.
And on television now, people are happy to get greenlit to go into that pilot. But then B, to get to the series, which it used to be a 22, then it swapped to 12, then now it gets down to 8. And a lot of times you're like, a lot of places won't even get a full on, they'll just get maybe, those first 3 episodes or something like that. So,
and everybody's trying something different. Look at A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. You got 6 half-hour episodes in an HBO serial drama. It hadn't been done like that for the most part. I mean, HBO has half-hour shows, but those are largely comedies or comedy dramas, or like your Ballers or your Entourages of the world.
I was surprised. I remember when it first dropped, I thought it was going to be like an hour long, but honestly, they did a good job with the 30 minutes or 27 minutes that they had per episode, and they wrapped it in a solid way. So, I don't know. I think, the UK shows, a lot of them, that they would do very specific targeted episodes as well.
Great example.
That's what I was going to bring
Korean
up.
dramas. Korean dramas as well. They have they're like, we got 12 episodes. They're in and out. They'll maybe tack on one for something else, but like they're very specific about, we only have this many episodes to tell this particular story. And then if there is a season 2, it's usually because it's a co-production with an American company like a Netflix or something like Hulu or something. But most of these stories are one and done.
Dragon Ball Z.
Usually in their mind. I'm sorry. What'd you say, Josh?
I said Dragon Ball Z and Naruto can take notes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thousand some odd episode epics, bro.
But you see, usually in their mind, it's the best ones in their minds, they approach every story, act 1, act 2, act 3. It doesn't matter if I'm talking about seasons 1, 2, 3 is act 1, seasons 2 and 4. 4 and 5 are act 2, and season 6 is act 3. Sure. Everything, even from the episode stretched out, micro to macro. It's, if you're thinking about it in terms of this is the first act, this is the second act, and this is the third act, then typically the story flows the way you want it to, and it's enjoyable for us, the audience, or the reader, but mainly the audience.
And, and also, from an anime standpoint, a lot of those animes too, the ones that do get, because a bulk of anime is all is usually developed from a manga first or a light novel. And then now it's been manhwas, which is the Korean versions of webtoons and all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of these webtoons, especially for Korean dramas, they're self-contained stories. Like, they'll be there 12 to 18 episodes, maybe 24 at most, and then they're out. Anime, like I said, there's the One Pieces, which is 1,000+ episodes, which I refuse to watch to this day. I will never watch that show. Ever
I have my.
It don't take 1,000 episodes. It don't take 1,000 episodes to tell a story. Can't do it. Well,
but, we have our membership, and we have our membership card already. We've done our 1,000+ episodes. Jail bit already.
I did tap out although I got to go back and to see Bleach, because I stopped at Bleach, I think at 1 in the 60s, and then they came back with the 1,000-Year War, which I heard is really dope. I haven't watched it. And then Naruto, I tapped out at like 2 something, then went back, watched Boruto, which wasn't really that great. And then trying to think what else is long that I've watched. I think those are the only 3. After, I just can't, if it's 100 episodes, no, man.
Yeah, shout out to my daughter who got me with Naruto at one point. Like, I was like, I refuse, and then she was watching it, and I think she got to like in the 600s somewhere. And it was when Rock Lee is participating in the tournament. That was dope. That was phenomenal. I came in front. So shout out to my daughter for that. But like once the tournament was over and they started dipping into all these other subplots, I was like, see, nah, you trying to get me, and I know what you're doing. I'm not her, but I'm talking about Naruto. I was like, I know what you're doing. I know where this leads. I've already got my membership stamp from watching literally almost all of Dragon Ball Z from the beginning up until probably recently. I do not need another 1,000 some odd episode. The Dragon Ball Z has so many episodes and is so big that literally the Japanese economy would crash if they stopped making them. That is insane to me.
Honestly, I would say this about the Dragon Ball universe, and really not being a anime person, it could be a thing in general, but what I found is recently rewatching a lot of those episodes is that what's really good about it and what endures even despite the influx of episodes is really the characters and the characterizations and their relationships to one another. It's kind of cool to watch that you see this multi-year development of let's say, for example, Vegeta and Goku's relationship. Like that's a very complex rivalry that they did a good job of maintaining that across several generations and building it. So there are things about it that's really cool. But that doesn't change the fact that it has an exorbitant amount of episodes, and it is a commitment if you're going to do it, because a lot of it is good storytelling. I'll give them that. But yeah, it's one that require it. It's a commitment. I did have 2 honorable mentions that I was going to throw out there. 3 really, but I'm only going to talk about really 2 of them, or 1 really. But so those are The Walking Dead. That's all I wanted to say. And you mentioned it earlier, but it overstayed its welcome. I'm not going to even. In fact, it overstayed its welcome, and all of the spinoffs overstayed its welcome.
I will ask one question, and you can be as brief as this as you want. What was your dividing line for The Walking Dead?
The dividing line in what way?
In terms of as Cam likes to say, you had your Iron Man moment where you were like, just like, oh, come on, all right.
Truthfully, for me, it was probably in season 6 with all of the fake out deaths. They did a bunch of fake out deaths in that's the Glenn death, like all of that stuff, the dragging out the whole Negan stuff. But just an example of they got to fill 16 episodes. So instead of us getting just a straight up all out war from the comic book, we got the Cult of Negan and all this extra stuff, Glenn being teased as being killed, and then you kill him at the very end. It was
silly.
It was it's the worst way that you try to change things from adaptation, just doing it for straight up shock and all, being able to tease things. Because the other thing that annoyed me is how they didn't reveal who Negan killed until the next season.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to make a whole promo campaign out of who got the bat. So that was when I was really like, man, this show has gone far beyond the pale of just being a show. Now it's a spectacle. It's a sideshow, circus act. But yeah, it would have been around late season 5. The whole season 6 is what killed it for me, especially when they opened with Rick with the whole plan of them trying to herd all of those walkers out of a pit. Now, these fools can't climb. They don't know how to coordinate anything. But then you herd them up out of the pit, and then, of course, all hell breaks loose. And they always take themselves too serious. That's why the Walking Dead deserves to be all the way up on top, but doesn't deserve any as much discussion or dissection. And then my other two were, one is Westworld. Westworld overstayed its welcome. I thought Westworld was a story that had a beginning, middle, and end, and then it was being stretched out after that first season. The story structure and storytelling was not the same. It was more of a gimmick at that point, as opposed to in the first season, where it was a part of the aesthetic of the narrative build, us not knowing when and where and being in the point of view of Dolores and things like that, and those reveals. And this is not me saying that those seasons that followed weren't entertaining. There were some things about them that were good, but as far as a show knowing where it's going, Westworld didn't know where it was going after that first season. And you could see that as we get to the third season and then ultimately the fourth season. I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys did not have a plan. HBO wanted more until they didn't. And that was the problem with Westworld. That's literally the story of Westworld. HBO kept wanting more until they didn't. And that's why after season 4, it stopped, because I think people stopped watching because it just wasn't. Again, if you are into the whole evil android versus humans type of very rudimentary stuff, season 3 and 4 will tickle your fancy.
And I think if it started out that way, if it started out good versus evil, it would have been fine. But it was a much deeper examination of human nature in season 1, and they completely 180'd away from that.
The first season was an entire exploration of existence, of what consciousness is, what it means. That's where you get all those really good dialogue moments from Anthony Hopkins' Ford character, comparing the human intellect to a peacock and and all that stuff. And, talking about, asking the android, what do you think will greet you when you go out to the human world? You think you're going to get a ticker tape parade? We're alone in this world for a reason because we ate the Neanderthal. So there was a lot of great nuance to it, as well as the Christian allegory and iconography without it being heavy-hand Christian mythology. Because there's a lot of that in the symbolism of the first season of Westworld. Everything from Arnold and Ford being God devil figures and all of that stuff. But after season 1, like Josh said, it's not that was a problem that you had the android versus human thing. It's just that wasn't what it started off to be about. That wasn't what people bought into. People bought into something a little bit more deeper and reflexive than just that. So
my biggest gripe is that it has Jeffrey Wright, and I couldn't watch it past season 1.
I don't know your issue with Jeffrey Wright, man.
No, I like Jeffrey Wright. It's just the fact that overall season 2 and on was just something different. And
100%. Yeah.
The fact that it has Jeffrey Wright and I can't watch it sucks.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah. My bad. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Jeffrey Wright is a great actor, but he's not enough to save it for me. So.
He isn't, and they don't they don't do well by the Bernard character arc, in terms of where you thought the character might go. Yep. But again, at the end of season 1, that was a good enough ending. I would have been okay with it leaving on a cliffhanger that the hosts were going to start to gain consciousness and start to attack and try to liberate themselves. That was fine for me. I didn't need anything further than that. So, but yeah, Westworld is on there. Unfortunately, because I do still love the show, but I now find that I can rewatch season 1 and leave it alone. I don't even go past that.
I would say this. I have the same feeling for going back to anime, which is One Punch Man. And like One Punch Man, the first season, phenomenal. I could rewatch that multiple times. It's super fun. It's an easy premise. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
It's well animated. And it's just a fun season one of an anime. Like it's like all the best things about anime. Like it's fun. It has a little bit of heart. There's some sci-fi in it. It's like when I say fun, it's fucking silly. But then once it gets to season 2 and in season 3, switches studios, which also switches writers, and like it just completely. It's almost like 2 separate shows, which is kind of crazy.
Wait, hold on. Can let me ask you this? When we say a show is overstayed, it's welcome. Is 3 seasons long enough to say it's overstayed as welcome, or can we
if the seasons are bad and completely disconnect from what the original premise is?
I think it's that.
Season 2 of One Punch Man was not that bad. I'll give you season 3.
3's horrible. 2 I might have to revisit. I'll go revisit off your say so because I'm
trying to understand because like the examples we brought for obvious reasons based off premise. One Punch Man could be written for longer seasons. Now,
forever.
Prison Break, come on, 2 seasons at most.
So piggybacking on the anime piece, I give you another example. Psycho-Pass. Psycho-Pass should have been 1 season and out. And that second season just absolutely did not need to happen. Now, Cam
did you say that at the end? Did you say that at the end of the season, or did you say that after they made other seasons they should have?
I was cool. I didn't even know they made it, so I watched it self-contained, not realizing that there were other seasons after. So at the end of season 1, I was like, "Oh, this is well done." And then and then Cam told me there was another season, but he neglected to mention that it was bad. He neglected to mention it was bad. So I watched it. And then, I like halfway through, I was like, what is this? All right, man, I'm gonna finish this. And then he tells me that season 3 is good. And I could have skipped season 2. I was like, well, thanks, buddy.
One of the examples of a show ending on 1 season was The Night Of on HBO. I thought that was like cool. I don't even know.
That's also a traditional limited TV series, which is AKA the TV movie. Which it's one of the few that made its way back. Watchmen is another TV movie that was the limited run. So I think there's 2 criterias. There is the literal overstand of his welcome, meaning your Law and Order, Supernaturals, Shonda Rhimes shows where it does 12 to 20 seasons, 400 episodes. That's overstaying a welcome because that's not that's just a story on top of several other stories. And then the other criteria is the examples that we just recently gave, like a Westworld. That's not necessarily a lot of seasons or episodes.
You know what? It's going to fall into this? Shogun. It's going to sadly fall into this. Shogun should end up one season.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
I would argue that I would have rather it only been 1 season. I was not thrilled about the announcement of a second season because I think that's just the impulsive American desire to have more. When to me, we got a great story in that first season, and that's all we needed. Any more than that, I don't know, but I can't say if it will be. Of course, that's always motivation.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I don't know. That one's up in the air for me. I'll just throw this last one out there, and that's The Boys. And that one is the controversial one because The Boys is about to finish this week. But The Boys, has overstayed its welcome, and if there's no better evidence, you have no further to look than so far, 6 episodes of an 8-episode season have shown me that this writer's room did not know how to end this show. The only thing I've seen is just obsession with Trump and MAGA, and the worst parts of the MCU recently, like parried in that, and a character who is so powerful that every way to write him, ending him, is convoluted and either convoluted or is written to not make any sense or written to go nowhere. I mean, they teased in Gen V that the Gen V characters would be involved, and you would think they would need all hands on deck. They only mentioned Marie Moreau once, and she just appeared in this last episode 7, the penultimate episode. And they have Starlight tell her that she can't send her away because she can't control her powers. Now, Marie Moreau can control blood, which means that any creature that has blood, she can manipulate. Homelander's got blood underneath his flesh, right? So I would think that would be a
whoa, sir, you're being a little too logical right now. You're a little too logical.
Well, beyond my logic, the whole second season was about her learning to master her powers so that she could be strong enough to take on Homelander. Right. So why would they write Starlight say you can't control your powers, so get out of this fight? This is the writing of a penultimate episode. Right. The last before the final episode of the series.
And Homelander is at the peak of his power. So why would you not have even someone who can't control their power? It could be useful. Even if she accidentally blows the blood vessel in his leg instead of his head, that's still useful.
Yeah.
She resurrected her sister who was stabbed. She used the blood of the others around her to repair her sister. Right. Like she is such powerful that she can manipulate. The only way that he would be able to stop her is he would have to move quickly to behead her. That would be the only, because he at the end of the first season he hit her full blast in the chest with the laser, and she lived. Like literally woke up, nothing was wrong with her.
And I would say the thing about The Boys is they painted themselves in the corner because, like, the source material, the good thing about the book, it is exactly what we've been talking about this whole time. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's a definitive end. Where what happened with the show is that first season hit you in the mouth. Oh shit, this is definitely not your mom's superheroes. Now the second season continued that, but then they painted themselves in the corner because Homelander took off. So it stopped being about the boys and started being about Homelander. And now you have this near God omnipotent character running around basically being Trump. And you're like, dude, what are you guys doing? You forgot about the basic purpose of the show.
To your point, Eric Kripke became obsessed with MAGA and Trump. And he is. Oh. And everything in his, all of the lampoon. Like, there's a Butcher used last season and this season, and they even wrote Soulja Boy to comment on it, Don T. Be a Cunt as an alias. And so the first time you use it, it's kind of funny. But then when you come back and you do it the exact same thing, that's what, so the whole thing has just been one season trying to mirror what's going on in society after the next.
And it's worth pointing out, we are not pro or anti. We're not promoting or dismissing or downplaying anything. It's just the commentary on the show and how it's gone off the rails as an obsession with. Not because we have any sort of, that we're espousing any sort of political view in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, and with that disclaimer, I'll also give another disclaimer, which is I don't care either.
Exactly. Exactly. We don't. What Stephen A. Smith said, we don't care.
Either which way. That was a good disclaimer, and he's right for giving it. But just so you know, in addition to that, having said that, we don't care either which way.
And then, and like you said, they painted themselves in the corner, and now they limped along for a whole season, and they just look foolish. So like, we have another season where everyone's like, why? This season kind of sucked.
And it seemed like the whole thing was just like, okay, this whole last season is just setting up Vault Rising. And they didn't even have the temerity to shoot any flashback scenes or anything like that. It's all exposition. It's all characters spending 5 to 10 minutes of screen time talking, telling us all these things. Oh, Marie Moreau and the God and her kid, they're on assignment somewhere else. Oh, Soldier Boy. Oh, I love and them pining over Stormlander makes Stormfront makes me want to puke. I'm like, I'm watching two racist white men talk about how much they loved and cared about an extremely racist woman. And maybe that's a thing in character. You could do that in some. It's fine as far as the storytelling thing goes, but the problem is that it's them talking about it and not us seeing it. And that's the whole last season. It's just been one big preview of Vault Rising, one backdoor pilot or backdoor season, premiere season of Vault Rising. And even the fight scenes have been, it's like they got stripped of the budget for the last season.
Yeah, because, very muted.
Homelander and Ryan fought. And I was just like, that's it? That's it? After all of that, that is it? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Y'all should have checked out after that first season. Should have just been the whole arc of the comic book, period. It should have been just that beginning, middle, and end, the reveal about Black Noir and Homelander and all that stuff. And that should have been the end of it. It should not have gone to where it is now.
And that's what I say. You got, all right, man, y'all got it moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, jump the shark, as they used to say. But yeah, thank you for listening. Before I finish, Josh, give me one.
I want to throw out one.
We're not gonna be here for another 30 minutes, Josh.
No. I promise. So there was one that in researching for the episode, there was one that popped up that I feel like doesn't belong on that list, and that's ER, the medical drama from back in the day. And I feel like they did a good enough job of swapping out the characters and changing up narratives. And like, characters came, characters went. Either they left the show or they died off or they got killed off or, something tragic happened. And I don't feel like for 15 seasons, granted, that's a long time for a show. But by the time you get to the end, Noah Wyle is probably the only character that was there at the beginning that's still there. Literally, the entire cast has been swapped out by that point. And Noah Wyle comes in as an intern and is now head of the ER by the end of the series. So I don't know if y'all watched, but I was an avid.
And you making the case for it to not be on there or to
not be on it? Not be on.
You just made it for me to.
Hey, we are not about to argue this.
No. I don't want to argue.
No.
Josh had his reason. He gave a good reason. I'm just really messing with him. But he gave a good reason. I'm just saying it also. By contrast, I can see somebody using those same reasons to put it on the list.
I think doctor shows, lawyer shows, propaganda shows, all those get a special carve out. All of them could have dropped at one season for everything, and then they just
lately firefighter shows. You got all kinds of every
you got a whole 911 Chicago emergency services ecosystem.
Fire, something.
911.
All on CBS too. Maybe and they're all on like
America, baby. You gotta love it. All of our cheesy shows.
Are those Taylor Sheridan shows?
No, that's the Yellowstone guy, right? Yeah, Yellowstone guy. Yellowstone got like 7 shows now too. There's Yellowstone, Old People Yellowstone.
He's like the new Dick
Marshalls. Yeah, I was like, cause I've like, shout out to people that actually like Yellowstone. I heard it's actually pretty good. I've never watched it, but like, I just keep seeing the new show pop up every season. That's like some type of spinoff. It's like some more white people in the middle of Midwest doing some stuff on a horse.
I will say this though, Taylor Sheridan's shows, from the ones that I have watched, like Lioness, are really good. That and Landman are the two Taylor Sheridan joints.
That's the one with Zoe Saldana.
Yes. It's absolutely off the chain. It's great.
Oh. Wait, which one did you say?
Lioness.
Lioness is
after
great.
That.
Landman.
Oh, Landman.
That's
with
oh no, I thought it was something else.
It's with Billy Bob Thornton. It's absolutely hysterical. Just the levels of sarcasm in that show.
it's a lot of old. It's like a lot of shows white people on the land or something. It's like a reoccurring thing I see.
To be fair, Taylor Sheridan has figured something out. If I wasn't afraid of getting swallowed up in the ecosystem of Yellowstone, I'd probably check it out just based on the strength of Lioness and Landman.
The only Yellowstone story I'm interested in is the one that ends with the volcano erupting.
And on that note,
take us away, Cam. Take us out, Cam.
Dude, hilarious.
Take us out, Cam.
On that note, I will say before we go, Taylor Sheridan did do Lawman, Boss Reeves with David Oyelowo, where they did the original Lone Ranger. I watched that. That was actually really cool. I liked it a lot. They did
That's the one about Bass Reeves. You just right?
Yeah. Okay. It was good. It was good. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I like him as an actor, but
the best Bass Reeves I've seen is Delroy Lindo in The Harder They Fall. Was he was a great Bass Reeves. That was and obviously he's a historical figure, but he brought his own Delroy style to it, and it worked. It totally worked.
Absolutely.
That was dope. That's a good one. But okay, before we're here for another 3 hours, once again, everybody, thanks for listening, and like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell us other shows that we think that overstayed is welcome, or ones that you guys disagree with us on, because there's a bunch of them. And we'll probably do part 2
ones out there too, right? So we threw some gems out there. So
yeah, we could do it, and we'll do a part 2 of this because there's endless amount of these shows. But also we could even do shows that should have got longer and they didn't get it. So, but all that's to say, thanks for rocking with us. Talk to you guys soon, and we out. Peace.
If anybody knows what happened to Judy Winslow, let me know.
They're still looking upstairs for her.
She's still upstairs.
Mm-hmm. They checked the attic. She went Narnia on us. I don't know.
She went to Narnia. Mm-hmm. Yo, Black Narnia. That can be kind of